After years and years of service to the Empire, Darth Vader wanted his reward. It had been 5 years since he first pledged himself to Darth Sidious in the Chancellor's private room. Outside, Jedi Master Mace Windu's body was presumably spread across the ground over several floors of Coruscant's lower levels. Assisting in Windu's defeat was the first true step Skywalker had taken in service to the Sith, and in the 5 years since that battle, the former Jedi Knight had purged the entire galaxy of Jedi. But it wasn't without sacrifice. Vader had lost his arms, legs, and even the ability to breathe on his own. He had no friends, no love, and the only being in the world that he could bear to have a relationship with, Emperor Palpatine, only ever cruelly manipulated him, a far cry from the brotherly bond Vader once shared with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And now, after the galaxy had been cleansed of the Jedi threat, or at least Palpatine declared as much, when he announced that Vader would be assigned to new missions, Vader wanted a personal world that he could rule over. What worlds did Darth Sidious offer to his apprentice, and which one did Vader choose? Join us as we answer these questions and more in today's underrated moment. Every time Vader visited Palpatine's throne room, he was reminded of all the years that he once spent studying in the ancient grounds. After all, this was once the Jedi Temple. In a final signal of vengeance, Palpatine ordered his Imperial troops to strip the Temple of Coruscant of all of its light side artifacts and transformed it into his personal throne room. Of course, the fact that the basement of the structure held a Force nexus was also intriguing to the new Emperor. Vader followed his master as they descended through the temple into a tiny hangar where Jedi starfighters like the Delta 7A of Qui-Gon Jinn used to be parked. Emperor Palpatine had acquired a gift for his apprentice, a relic of Vader's past from his time as Anakin Skywalker, Padme's Royal Nubian starship. But as Darth Sidious revealed the illustrious vessel, he couldn't help but notice that Vader's mind was somewhere else. The years of butchering Jedi and quelling insurrections had gone by in the blink of an eye for the Sith Lord. And during all that time, Vader was forced to survive the cruel manipulations of his master. Not a day went by that traumatic memories of Palpatine's shock of electric blue force lightning or the burn of Sidious's red lightsaber as he held it against Vader's neck didn't skirt across Vader's mind. At first, he simply endured it all the torment, all the humiliation. It was Vader's punishment for so foolishly thinking he could defeat Obi-Wan Kenobi along the banks of the lava streams of Mustafar. And at the same time, Vader assumed that he would have to endure Palpatine's cruelty in order to finally learn the Force techniques to resurrect Padme Amidala, the wife that Vader was partially responsible for killing. As Vader's mind jumped from painful memory to painful memory, Sidious assigned his apprentice a new mission. But then something happened, something that Palpatine never expected. His apprentice refused. With a cold, harsh no from his mechanical voice box, Vader decided that 5 years of never-ending missions for his master was enough. He needed something for himself. "I have destroyed the remaining Jedi for you," Vader explained. "I will perform any other task you require. But first, I ask that you give me a world." Palpatine had been uncharacteristically calm the entire evening. In the past, if Vader had ever shown this type of insubordination, Palpatine would have embarrassed the apprentice by tossing him around on the floor with a terrifying display of dark side force powers. But instead, Sidious simply listened. Perhaps all the years of service had earned Vader a bit of leeway. "A world," Palpatine mussed aloud. "Ah, I see. A place to hone your skills and rage. Coruscant is mine. And you shall also have a world to shape it as you see fit," Palpatine concluded. Again, the Sith Master was oddly generous in his treatment of his apprentice. In the years since Anakin's fall to the dark side, Palpatine had been nothing short of cruel, like an abusive spouse that gaslights their partner into believing every terrible lie. But as the pair stood before the former starship of Padme Amidala, Palpatine seemed to be channeling the charming, father-like personality that he once used in his conversations with young Anakin Skywalker long before the fall of the Republic. Naboo, perhaps. "I know you have connections to that planet," Palpatine said, as he offered the planet that had once been the site of Anakin and Padme's marriage to his apprentice. It was no small gift either. Palpatine himself had a personal connection to the world, having been born there himself in the year 84 BBY. "This is the esteem in which I hold you, my apprentice. I would give you my home world," Palpatine said, putting his own feelings into words. But Vader remained silent. The black-armored Sith Lord simply stared at his own reflection in the charred hull of Padme's Nubian cruiser. After a second of consideration, Palpatine wondered if his apprentice would rather prefer a world to punish, an entire planet that could be the subject of Vader's wrath. Tatooine. You could burn its sand to glass, repay your suffering there 1,000 times over. But Vader wasn't quite ready to bring himself back to the world that was the site of his mother's death. Along with the memories of his wife and the recollection of calmer days with Obi-Wan, it was the memories of Shmi Skywalker that haunted Vader the most. Palpatine waited for his apprentice to respond, but for the second time in the conversation was shocked by what he heard. "No," Vader said, over the loud echo of his respirator. "Mustafar." Vader, for his own planet, didn't choose to rule over his homeworld or the home of the greatest love of his life. Instead, Darth Vader selected the site of his greatest defeat, the place where his limbs were consumed in a river of lava. In order to punish himself even more, Vader chose Mustafar as his own personal world.